Good morning, fellow chiropractors. How's it going out there? I'm heading over to the clinic. I just got off the phone doing our pre-shift huddle. That's something we do prior to seeing patients. We have all the staff on the phone. It takes about 15 minutes, so it's like a little mini meeting. And there's many things that happen in the pre-shift huddle. It's first couple minutes, it's just trying to bring up the energy, talk about what's going on. Today was a high energy meeting that was good. Everyone had something positive to contribute. Many of the staff already worked out this morning, and I worked out this morning, so that was good. And anyway, so energy is up before the shift. That's awesome. So we talk about that. We talk about the schedule. We talk about special appointments. But then this is a thing that we're starting to do with stats. Well, actually, not starting. We've done this for a long time. And I feel like it's a very important number, a very important thing to report, is don't just talk about stats for each week. So first off, if you're not tracking stats, if you're not setting goals, that's a problem. Goal setting is really important, and it's like fundamental to who we are as human beings. It's what drives us, is setting and then achieving a goal and then setting a new goal. So that's something I would recommend doing if you're not doing. Now with goal setting and number tracking, you're going to look at patient visits per week, new patient visits per week, and then also it's good to look at special appointments each week. In our systems, in MoveWell, what we teach is that you are really gauging your success each week, or your growth or your sustenance of your practice, by how many day 3s you have each week, and then really how many day 4s you have. So that's a really good thing to look at and to track. So it's not just new patients, because a new patient could come in on day 1, you never see them again. Now that rarely happens, but that's why that's not the only thing you're going to look at. You want to look at how many day 3s, because that's when you're going through a care plan with someone, and then day 4 is when they start their course of corrective care. That's how you can gauge success, that you have patients that are coming in that want your services, that understand, that have gone through the process properly, been educated properly, see value, and they want to go through the program, which is really why we do what we do, right? Is to help these patients get results. If they don't go through the program, we can't help them. So, and with that said, not everyone's a candidate for care. We have to be able to accept a patient in a practice to take them through. There are certain requirements to accept a patient into your program, into your care. One of them is them understanding that this is going to be a commitment. If they're not willing to commit and take the time to make appointments and to do their home care, then you're not going to be able to help them. So these are certain things that are talked about earlier on before day 3, day 4 even happens. But with all that said, the thing that we are doing that is really helping with looking out several weeks into the future is there's a stat that we look at where we look at patient count for the week, and we look at it every day, and we review it every day at the pre-shift huddle. So we say, okay, this week we have X number of patient visits. Here's where it was at yesterday. Here's where it's at today for the week. So what's that doing? It's looking at how many people have canceled or rescheduled. It's making sure that you at least maintain or have elevation of growth, because usually each week, towards the end of the week, you will end up having more people on the schedule that week, because you have people who are in certain phases of care that maybe they haven't scheduled out their future appointments yet. Okay, so that's something that we look at. So one is looking at patient visits for the week, and then it's repeating that every single day to see if that number is staying steady or growing but not dropping, okay? Second thing, little side note, so if you're taking notes on this, this is a little side note. Little side note is any cancellations that week. Remember, our patients make up their missed appointments. So if we have any cancellations, then that means they have to come in for an additional visit either that week or the following week. So if you're looking at numbers, and let's say you have 150 patient visits on your schedule, and then by the end of the week, you look at it, and some more people have added, so maybe it got up to 170, but then you had like 20 cancellations, okay, which would be a lot. So if you had 20 cancellations, then that next week automatically, those cancellations should be plugged into next week where they all have an additional visit, or that week that you're currently in should have an additional visit. So it should all make up for it. If you have a high cancellation week and people haven't rescheduled that week, technically the following week should already be higher, because those people are getting in to make up their missed appointments. Remember, this is a time-sensitive process. It's not go through a 12-week transformation, go through 12 weeks of corrective care and finish it in 15 weeks. No, it's finish it in 12 weeks. We have re-exam set, we have re-x-ray set in most cases, depending on what kind of structural changes we're anticipating. And the goal is to not have to move those appointments because you get enough visits under your belt before you get to those special appointments. Okay? So that's the first thing. The thing that I still haven't gotten to yet, which I'm building the suspense, the thing I haven't gotten to is we don't just look at the numbers for this week, but we announce how many patient visits we have scheduled for next week. We do that every day. Okay, so this week we got 150, next week we have 110, 120, whatever. And then we have goals. We have goals that each and every day of that current week that you're in, if next week you have 110 on the schedule and you're currently at 150 for this week, well, if you want growth, you can say, I want 10% growth. It's a pretty lofty goal week to week. But if that's what you want to do, then that means you got 110 next week, 150 this week, you're shy 40. You want 10% growth, that means you got to add 15 patients. You got to be at 165. If you're at 110 next week, you're basically missing 55 visits. That's a lofty goal. How are you going to get 55 visits on there? And then you say, okay, how many new patients do we have? How many people are missing action? How many new patients scheduled never came in? How many referrals do we have from some of our other health partners or other doctors that refer us people that sent us referrals that we haven't been able to get a hold of the patient and get them scheduled? Because yes, side note, that's a way that we see a lot of our patients is from medical providers who understand what we do, because that is one of the awesome things about corrective exercise and functional movement is that other practitioners really see a tremendous value in it and they refer people to us. So they fax us referrals. We have names of people that we call and schedule and try to get them on the schedule because they haven't actively called themselves. How many of those can we call and try to get on for that next week so that we can have an appropriate new patient count and we can start to get the numbers closer to what our goal is. But the thing that we do is we don't just look at next week, we look at the following week and the following week. So we look at essentially 3 weeks future. So we're looking at the next month. We also look at a stat every single day, and that stat is from 30 days from today, how many patient visits do we have on the schedule? So 30 visits from today, how many patient visits do we have on the schedule? And now that number is going to fluctuate because you have weekends, right? So like on a Thursday, if you're looking at that stat, it's always going to drop because it's going to count more Saturday and Sundays for that running 30 days, if that makes sense. But it's a number that we understand. We've been tracking for a long time, so we know how it can gradually dip a little bit towards the end of the week because of the Saturday and Sunday variable. And if that doesn't make sense to you, look on a calendar and look like Monday and then figure out 4 weeks in the future, count how many working days you have to see patients, and then look Tuesday, how many working days do you have? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What happens is as you get closer to the end of the week, you have less working days 30 days out. And so because you have less working days, you're going to have less patient appointments on there. That's what that means. However, looking at that stat, looking at how many visits you have for the next running 30 days is helpful. And then you want to have goals to grow that number. If you're bringing another doctor to your practice, like for us, we just recently brought in a new doctor in our practice and he's training and he will be starting to build a patient count very soon. And when that happens, we change those goals because now we have an additional provider in our practice. So those numbers, the 30-day out each week, everything now increases based on that person's goals. And we're going to set goals for that doctor. And then we're going to reverse engineer the process of how do you meet those goals. If your goal is to see 100 patient visits a week by 8 weeks from now, build it up in 2 months, how do you do that? Okay, and you do that by making sure initially, the lifeblood of growing that initially is making sure that you basically have enough new patients. And then after you build a patient base, then it's about retention, it's about conversion. So conversion meaning patients go through the process, that they understand what you have to offer, so they're taking advantage of the corrective work that you work so hard clinically to put into place. And they take advantage of it so they can get healthy, they can benefit. Okay? So anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to cover this morning. I'm almost to the clinic, cutting through this little back way, almost there, driving past McDonald's right now with the drive-thru is always full in McDonald's, which when I see that is my confirmation every single day of how much people need what we have. They need to get educated on why you don't put filth into your body. So, anyway, people need what we have, everyone. There's a huge demand, like supply and demand. We're in a good business as far as what we do. We help people get healthy through natural health and healing, and people want it and need it more than anything before. And a little caveat to that is the fastest growing industry in the world is, guess what? It starts with an F, rhymes with witness, the fitness industry. So that's why when you start talking movement and exercise, that's why it makes it even that much easier, is because people already get it. They already want it. It's the fastest growing thing in the world. So why not lead with movement in your chiropractic clinic and resonate with people through that? Good idea? Cool. All right, everyone that's watching it live, hello, good morning. Some of you pop up on the screen. Some of it just says a little number in the upper left. But it looks like we have Dr. Herr, if I'm saying your name right, Herr. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, if you found this helpful, share this with your fellow chiropractors. Check out movouniversity.com, and you can find out more about how we put these systems in practice. There's a lot of systems, but they all work. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That buggy just drove by. That is cool. Anyway. All right, we'll see you. Have a great day. movouniversity.com. Share this with fellow chiropractors. I'm going to flip this around. That is really cool. I don't know if you guys like to do any kind of off-roading, rock crawling, but some of my favorite pastimes. It's driving by right now. Very cool. All right. Anyway, I was distracted. Have a great day. See ya.